Okay, so this is a web series that I'm starting up here about redoing the glass on an aquarium. Uh, this tank here, I grow a lot of plants in there, and what starts to happen is the root systems start growing through the silicone at the side here, and I start getting leaks right at the water level where the roots start pushing through. So every about 5 to 10 years, I have to take the glass off of this front, completely redo the silicone, and completely rebuild the tank. So right now I've gone through and I've cut through with an X-Acto knife through here. Usually just use one that's taken out, get in from the outside and just slice down through the glass, being really careful not to crack it. And we have a pain in the ass, really. But there's a lot of scratches that build up as well because a lot of water tumbles through here and the rocks bang up against the glass pretty hard, and over time you can see there's a lot of residue buildup. And right now I'm going through and scraping with standard razor blade scraper. Go through and just get as much of this off as possible. I'm trying to clean out all of the silicone from the edges that I can. You can see I got a long way to go on all of this, but overall it's going to be polished with some glass cleaner and be nice, clean, clear front pane of glass, and then we can start rebuilding the interior, which is a fiberglass insert from a company, River Systems. They were very, very short-lived. They made few of these. They're very hard to find on the internet. They have a very, very old archived website that is very poorly put together in this exact model. I've never seen another one of them, but I've seen their secondary model, which a lot of people had a long time ago, but you never see them anymore. But this is a really neat system. You have multi-chambered water system, so the water feeds up into this container system here, goes back through this shelf, which is hollowed out, and the water dumps down into here, fills up the first chamber, spills over in the front right here, fills up the first large chamber here, and this whole ridge right back here you can fill with plants. Immersed plants versus submerged plants under the water. Usually I fill this with EcoComplete substrate, get a lot of plants growing down below, but this is a very low light section of the tank. So it's all low light plants, Anubias and anything like that. Fills up, spills over, goes into the next section, down and around, up and over, down, and then fills up the secondary section, pumped back up. I have been using PVC pipe over the top that's covered in cocoa bark, drops down into the water, has a big sponge filter on it, sucks the water up and over the top, comes back up, pumps down in, drops through the top to go into there. What I am working on doing to redo this, we'll go around to the back of the tank, is I'm going to drill a hole here in the top to have the return line, and then I'm actually going to drill a hole down here to go in through a bulkhead and up with a standpipe and have an overflow inside the tank. So everything is external and nothing has to go through the lid to come into the system. So you can see how the filtration here goes originally. It's originally designed to have this hose here just drop down into a power head and pump water up and then go through, and you would drop a carbon filter that fits diagonally in. You can kind of see where the bottom of it would sit right there. I've completely gotten rid of the carbon filter out of that and I use a canister filter underneath, but also in the rebuild here, this is getting a sump, which is going to allow for a lot better filtration on this thing and a lot higher water flow, because with the hang-on back filter, or not the hang-on back, but the canister filter down underneath, one of the biggest problems is head height. They're designed to have a water level that's up at the top of the tank, very limited pull to go back under and very limited push to come back up, so the gravity of the water starts at this level, pulls down. When you actually have to go from all the way down here up to the top of the tank, over and then back down and then up, back in and drop in, you get a lot of head pressure on the canister filters and they perform very poorly. I've got a 1,000 gallon per hour canister filter that sits underneath this thing, and with the about 1.5 foot head height that it has to pull the water up, I maybe get 150 gallons per hour through this thing currently, just because of head height and canister filters not being designed to handle that. But you can kind of see the mechanics of how this works a little bit more. You just have big, huge chambers in here that you just fill with dirt, well, substrate of some kind. Dirt would get pretty messy, but fill it full. You got huge, huge areas for root systems to go down through. I have their Carolinceus something or other. I can't remember the scientific name off the top of my head, but I will put that somewhere across the screen here once I have that up. But yeah, so this is the tank, this is the project. We'll continue to give updates as it goes along and give information on the cleaning process. So one more cool thing here that I've done previously, but you can kind of see it's starting to come off because I've gone through and cleaned it all out, is I do a cocoa bark across the entire back of the structure here, which we'll be redoing, and you'll get to see the entire process of that. Mix in sphagnum moss and various different moss species throughout it, push it in to build up ridges in here, and then you have a channel for substrate and soil to be put in behind, and then very shallow rooting plants can grow throughout the system. And so you already have kind of a little bit of a ridge here, but that's nothing compared to what you're going to need. I usually build it up and around just solid moss, dried moss siliconed in with cocoa fiber smashed in everywhere else. But again, I'm completely redoing this thing. Last time I did it with the front pane of glass on, and I missed a few spots, so I'm tearing it all out, getting it done perfectly this time. definitely not clear. Hey babe, one more thing for you. I just dropped my camera and got some silicone on it. If you could just wipe it off.
Oh, babe.
Just a little bit at the corners, but I caught it and I had silicone all over my fingers.
Where?
Just like up here on the corners.
How do I get that off?
Stop recording first, and then just use paper towel.